Welcome back, everybody. This is the latest episode of Real Estate Uncensored, the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we have a killer guest with us today, Chris Prefontaine. We're talking about how to do real estate on your terms. If you're an agent and you're not investing, or maybe you've just dipped your toe into the water, Chris has been there and built a scalable real estate business. And on the investing side, he's also coached agents and multi-million dollar producing teams around the country and Canada. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to take those steps into investing and when you're already an agent in the business, how to spot some of those opportunities. We're also going to talk about how to build a scalable investing side of the business that runs parallel to your real estate business. And that'll apply even if you're, and especially maybe if you have a team where you already have some staff in place and some systems in place that are running, you can add an investing component to that and add more leverage and profit. So we've got a bunch of stuff to get into. First of all, the Junior Grandmaster himself, Greg McDaniel in the co-pilot seat. What's up today?
What is up, my friend? I'm so excited to have Chris here. And ironically, Chris, you don't know this, but one of my 2019 goals is to buy a fourplex. And you were kind of talking about how you don't use banks and how you do some other, really cool ways of acquiring property. So, man, this is very serendipitous. I cannot wait to kind of see the knowledge that you're going to drop, because I think that a lot of us get locked in a one way of thinking. Like, well, I got to put my 25% down. I got to get a loan. I got to get my credit here. I got to get partners. And the list goes on, right? Yeah. And this is going to be, I have a gut feeling this is going to be some really solid content on how to get to that next level. Like how to get out of that rat race, man. How to stop doing the commute and start doing your own thing. Go look at a property at 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't jump in the freeway and commute back and forth at 8 a.m. I mean, that's the good stuff. And Matt's giving me a really weird look.
Well, how many agents do you know commute?
A lot of them. I used to.
Yeah. All right, well, Chris, let's jump in. So catch us up for those that might not know the name, and you're really big in the investing world, but it's been a while since you coached in the residential side of things. So a lot of the people in the business that are listening right now might not be familiar with the name. So catch us up a little bit on the background and how you got to be where you're at.
Sure. So just for that segue, so I bought a Realty Executives franchise back in '95. Prior to that, to give you the jump, we were building homes. I knew nothing about building, but I had a friend that was a builder. We built and we bought everything on terms back then without even knowing what we were doing. We paid no money for the land. We pre-sold the house, and when it was all done, then everybody got paid. But the Realty Executives was my first foray into being an agent. And if you can picture that, it's a little different because a builder and a realtor, there's not a lot of love there. And so I just went at it 95, got my license, sold to Coldwell Banker in 2000. That was the plan, and we did it. And then after that, as you said, coached agents throughout U.S. and Canada, and then started our own investments. That was like raise the roof projects, condominium conversions, things like that. And then when the debacle happened in '08, which was lovely, we just made a decision to re-engineer the whole business, never use banks again, never use our own cash again, don't jeopardize the credit, nothing. And that's what we've been doing since the debacle in the turn.
That's crazy.
And obviously you're very successful at this. I mean, I just really want to get into meat potatoes. How?
How do you buy like that?
I want to sit at your feet and learn, man.
Yeah, let's talk about what do you mean when you say, so no banks, none of your own money. So give us the brief outline of how that works and how you got started in that, especially after '08 when you're kind of restarting and going into that again, knowing what you knew from the residential side.
Well, the why and the how is that I had no credit and no money after the '08 thing, right? It was several $1 million upside down, and it took a while to dig out of that and do short sales and foreclosures and things like that. So we started buying on lease purchase and owner financing and subject to existing financing. Those are the three ways we buy. So owner financing, by the way, means a lot to a lot of people. You guys know that. For us, it means what? It means it's debt-free, and we are making principal-only payments to the seller. Very key. So you're hammering principal down every month, no interest.
Wow. Okay.
Always. That's what it means when I say owner financing. So for an agent, if you can picture this, if you want me to go there now, it's really anything that doesn't fit inside the box, right? If so, they go to a listing, it's upside down, they can't afford to pay a realtor. They might pass on that. They have good credit, but it's upside down. They don't want to do a short sale. Well, they might pass on that. Anything doesn't fit in the box, didn't sell for whatever reason, it's going to expire. You feel bad. All of these deals I'm explaining, we can buy on lease purchase or subject to. All of them. So they can go into a house confidently and say, no matter what, I have an answer for this seller. Unless the only one I can think of the exception would be they're like 3 years behind or 2 years behind and no equity. And there's no reason to stay in the deal. But almost any other deal, even if it's upside down, you can structure a deal usually.
That's interesting.
It
Okay.
really is.
All right.
But
So
then they're a hero, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, so how does an agent start to get the knowledge that they need to dip their toe into the water so that when they go into a listing appointment, they feel equipped that if they show up, it doesn't fit inside the box, they can confidently talk about what some of the other options are.
Yeah, good question. So they have two options if you think about it, and we see both of these in our market. They can find someone like us buying and selling on terms. I have students all over the country that I partner with, so that's one option. Mm-hmm. And you can just ask us. I'll tell you, there's a website where they're all listed. And then the second option is learn it yourself, right? So you go in there with the confidence. And now, as an agent, one of the things that got me off the treadmill, someone asked me recently at a mastermind, well, why, if you're doing 100 homes a year as an agent, why aren't you still doing it? I said, because it's a treadmill. You got to do it again and again and again every year. There's no residual there.
So true. So true.
Why not do that, be a kick butt agent, and buy some property for yourself, your family, and your business? So how do you learn that? I mean, if they can deal with listening to me for 55 minutes, I got a free webinar. They can go watch it,
And where do we get that free webinar?
Where do we get it?
Go to smartrealestatecoach.com.
Perfect. All right. So once they get into your world and they kind of figure out the nuts and bolts, then it's a matter of kind of spotting the opportunities. So tell me a little bit about what that listing consultation looks like when you go in armed as an agent, knowing your primary thing is you probably rather list the home unless it's some kind of unique thing. So what are some of the indicators that you're looking for when you walk into that consultation?
Yeah, so everything's a little different. And just for the record, so I'm not licensed anymore on purpose. I resigned it in 2012. But yeah. So if I were them, I would just, when I say anything outside the box, quite frankly, I'd go in up front and say, I can sell this for you, or I might want to buy it. Let's look at what you have. And it really depends on their motivation. Typically, Matt, I got to get out tomorrow. I don't have time for market time. I'm behind on payments. I need debt relief. It's really going to depend on their motivation. Every deal's a little different.
It's something very interesting, Chris, when you say that. We have a good friend of the show. His name is Jeff Latham. And do you know him? He's at the Pacific.
No, I might know a name.
You guys, I think, would really do well together because he goes in and he has the same conversation and he's able to just help people either stay in the houses. He'll buy an equity stance. He'll buy the property and rent it back to them, or he'll just help them sell it, whatever it really is. And it's such a uniquely awesome way to go in and talk to these folks because it's a human. You're humanizing the profession that's basically been demonized by the outside world for so long. So they look at us as one step up from used car salesmen as vampires. Yeah,
no, it's true. And they'll go in there and really morally and ethically say, let's look at your situation and let's see what the best fit is. You can't get much better than that.
No, you really can't. My dad's been doing this for 46 years. That's exactly how he goes in to listing appointments. He'll say, look, he told a gal last year for $2 million, don't sell. It's not the right time for you. Let your son go through his senior year in high school in the same house. The lady listened. She called us back. We're going to go down there and sit down with her and get stuff squared away and list the house.
Yeah, it goes a long way.
It goes a long way, man. Let me keep going. I'm going to get off track. You better wrangle, Johnson.
I know. I'm trying. All right. So we know. So you're going in there and you basically tell them right up front. So we talk about the motivation. What else is some of the key factors that you listen for to see if they're a better fit for you on the investing side versus the listing side?
In addition to what I said, look, some might tell the agent, I either don't want to pay you or I can't afford to pay you. Some might say, I want a little bit more than you're telling me. And quite frankly, that might be the case in a lot of sellers. But if you go look at how we can buy on terms, for example, if it's debt-free and I buy your house on terms and I'm making monthly principal payments, I can afford to pay a premium. Because in 3 or 4 months, that premium's gone. I'm making principal payments, hammering it down. So if they want all the money and you can't get that on the open market. So again, it's a catch-all for anything they don't think they can get done conventionally.
That's interesting. Okay.
Because there's a large percentage of homes in the U.S. that are debt-free, and 1 out of 4 homes the owners own over 50% of their property.
Yeah, I think it's 30-something% debt-free. I think as the last stat. That's a lot of homes.
It's a lot of homes, man.
I would have never guessed.
So you can target those, by the way. And if I was a realtor, I do as an investor, but I would too, as a realtor, target the free and clear homes. You buy a list and you target them.
Yeah. And then just go out with a value add. Hey, I might want to buy your home, or I can help you sell your home. Is that how?
Or I can pay a premium.
Wait, say that again.
I could pay top dollar or even a premium in some cases is how I say it. And they say, what do you mean? Well, let's get together and we'll go over some options.
That sounded good to me. Can you come to California?
I was going to say, that's a pretty good carrot on the end of the stick to get a listing consult.
Yeah, we have some students out in California. I was just there for a mastermind in San Diego, actually.
Oh, really? Nice. What mastermind was that?
Bill Glazier and Ed Rush.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever met Ed. We connected once, but yeah, I need to reach back out to him. Okay. So let's talk about how to build this thing into a real estate business. So let's say you're a little bit further down the line. You've got a residential team. Doesn't have to be huge, but you've got some scalability. You've got some systems in place. You're not running with your head cut off, just trying to make the next commission deal. Yeah. So how would you go about kind of installing this as a whole wing of your business so it runs in parallel and really starts to generate wealth? So maybe you can even sell off the residential team or get out of it like you did.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do in that case is everything we do is outsourced, Matt. So picture this, lead generation, all for sale by owners are called by virtual assistants. And then all expireds are put on what we call the expired dialing process, which we teach in the webinar, but it basically automates the calls going out, hundreds at a time to voicemails. And then we take the cream when they call back. So they'd have to talk to, I don't know, they'd probably talk to 10 people a week. It's not a daunting task to do a deal or two a month. And let me just give you some numbers. We do, we create 3 paydays for every deal. This will get the realtor's attention for sure.
Okay.
So 3 paydays for every deal. So you get now money because you're going to take a down payment from a tenant buyer. You get monthly cash flow because my outgo has got to be bigger than my outgo is going to be smaller than my income, right? Monthly checks. And then when the cash out, you get a payday. So there's 3 distinct paydays. And right now we're averaging on 75 grand a deal. That's a big number. And in some markets it's higher. That's our average. So here's a realtor that's used to just getting a check and moving on. Now they get this cash flow set up where they have 3 paydays scheduled out 2, 3, 4 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's really cool stuff. Now, and they're still not using any of their own money. They're not using any bank money. They're just leveraging the situation the sellers are in.
Correct. So let's do that then, Greg. So lease purchase. I go to the house. They owe exactly what it's worth. So if they paid a commission, they come out of pocket.
Okay.
They have great credit. They're only stressed because they want to move for whatever reason, family, school, job. So I said, great, I'll do a lease purchase with you, whereby I take over your mortgage payment. I take over any and all maintenance and repairs. I'm passing that on to my buyer anyway. Right. And then I'll do a term that's going to be a little bit longer than my standard 3 years because they owe what it's worth. I need time for the market to come up or the debt to come down or both. So I'll structure maybe a 4 or 5 year lease purchase. At the end of that lease purchase, my tenant buyer gets cashed out. Meanwhile, I created a payday when my tenant buyer went in. I took care of the seller's mortgage, so they're tickled pink. And then I create paydays every month when I pay the mortgage and take in my rent from my tenant buyer. And then I cash out at the end. So it's, again, 3 paydays. And you're a hero because they couldn't sell it conventionally.
Hold on. You're blowing my freaking mind. let me, the peon in the room. Let me just figure this out. Hold on real quick. So Matt Johnson is, Julie and his 3 obese, insulin-sucking troll little, babies. I forgot obese. Sorry, man. They're obese.
Yeah.
But okay, so Matt and Julie, they're in a situation. They're having a 5th gigantic kid, and they got to move. They can't. They can't pay me. And okay, so you say, okay, I'll take over your $2,500 mortgage. No problem. I'll take over all the maintenance. Then that gives them the ability to literally walk away from the home. Is that correct?
Yep. Not worry about it. Yep. Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. So they're gone. You have the asset. Now you go and you say, okay, Craigslist or whatever else, here's a rental for $2,800 a month or $3,000 a month. People come in, they jump on it. After all said and done, all fees, maybe you make $200 to $500 a month in positive cash flow, correct?
Yep. Our average is like 308. Yeah, you're spot on. Only little tweak there is tenant buyer, much different than tenant.
Tenant buyer. Where's the buyer?
So their lease purchase, they're on a lease purchase agreement?
Yeah, and much different because why? Because I'm getting you screened if you're the buyer, Matt, let's say.
Right.
And
that's how you
get a mortgage ready plan.
That's where it is. Okay. So that tenant now becomes the buyer in the term at the end of the term of that lease.
Yeah. So think of a tenant mentality. Tenant, right?
Beat the trash out of the house. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Buyer, I'm not ready yet, but I have a down payment, and you're going to help me get to the finish line. I got to improve my credit or whatever.
That's where okay. So you take do you hold that down payment in escrow?
No, you don't have to. It's non-refundable. It goes in HIP National Bank.
Wow.
So especially as an investor.
Okay. So Matt and Julie are gone. You bring in the renter, me. I pay the $3,000. You make your 308 on a monthly positive cash flow for the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever the term is. At that point, if you make sure I'm still a viable buyer, right? But then you sell me the house. Now, do you sell me the house at that then market value, correct?
Good question. No, we actually pegged the price ahead of time. So if I got Matt's house for $500,000 and I put it out for $550 because I'm putting it out on terms way out there, there's my spread on the back end, less any deposit I took in.
So that's your $50K that
so
you're
building
taking
your profit in. As long as there's not any radical changes in the market, that works, right?
Correct. And to that point, if you're a tenant buyer, if you're a tenant and you go, well, look, I'll just save money and I'll wait to buy in 3 years when my credit's better. Great. Now the market could sail right past you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So this way they put a down payment down like they were going to buy. They lock in their price. They act, behave, and pay for things like they're a homeowner. So it's like a little pride. They just don't have a loan yet. That's the only difference.
And they don't have to tell anybody that they're renting. They can just say, we're a tenant buyer. We're buying the home in the future. Yeah. We're buying it. Yeah. That is effing genius. I mean, I love it because, like you said, the 3 different paydays. You get the monthly payday of that 308, right? That means you get 10, 15 of those 308s. It's a nice little monthly recurring revenue, which then I'm assuming can help leverage your assets if you want to go buy additional properties. But you're not going to do that because you just do more of these term purchases, right?
We do. We carry like 50, 55 as a family team, always, coming and going. And then we have associates around the country, about 30 plus now that are active in different states that do anywhere from, 4 deals a year to 15 deals a year.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely watching your webinar, man.
All right. Well, let's go back to the building it into your business. So you talked about outsourcing the lead gen. You got calling assistants, calling FSBOs, and expireds. What's the next step of that?
Okay, so they got those 2 things outsourced. Now, as far as incoming calls, after they get trained, Matt, they can put on what we call a seller specialist. That's what we did internally. My son-in-law basically took over everything I used to do with the buying. So they could outsource all that eventually as well. So this is not, again, a daunting task to add a dozen deals to their bottom line. And like Greg said, a dozen deals are going to give you a nice little cash flow at 50 or $7,000.
So bringing on and training like seller specialists, define what a seller specialist is.
You would teach them to just be the one that's fielding those. The VA sends in 10 FSBOs this week and says, hey, these 10 want you to call them. You just give them, we actually have a program for it, coincidentally, but you'll give them the scripts. You'll give them exactly how to call them back and turn that into an appointment.
All right. So the calling specialists are essentially OSAs. The seller specialists would be sort of ISAs. Do they also go on the appointment, or do they turn that over?
They could. Yeah. I mean, my son-in-law took over everything, A to Z. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Excellent. So they field the scrub leads and potentially even take the appointments. Okay. So yeah. So once that's done, essentially, it sounds to me like the hard part of this is the intellectual property part. It's the figuring out how to solve the problems, and then figuring out how do you explain this to a seller in a way that they trust you, because it's unique, right? And it's a little bit outside the system. So then once you get that down for yourself, if you decide to outsource it to seller specialists, you have to be able to pass on that ability to build trust and explain it at a high level to sellers.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a comfort level, right? I mean, if you've been in real estate, I was in real estate good 19, 20 years before I started doing just terms. And I thought, where the heck was this? And well, the answer is it's been around for decades before us. No one just took it and like made a system out of it. I was reading a book. I got to think of the name here. It was an old book, real estate book. And the guy was talking about doing lease purchases in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Wow.
So it's not like it's new. It's just that no one took it and built a neat system and a scalable system that could do that.
So for agents they're like me, genuinely excited about this, because I want to get into this side. I want to, like you did, I want to get off the treadmill. It's a really shitty thing to always having to be hunting that next deal, because you're not going to eat if you don't get it. Yeah. And you're building. I want to build this front, middle, and end wealth. How can agents just start this? What when your head clicked? Like when you're like, oh, I can do this, or oh, this isn't sleazy, or this isn't like a get rich scheme.
Right.
Some people stop at that, and obviously you're not. You're doing incredibly well with it. But what was that mental shift? I mean, was there something?
The mental shift was I got creamed in 08. That was my mental shift. And I said, I love real estate, so how are we going to do it? And it was no banks, no credit, etc. So then my wife ended up saying, we did a few things without credit and built some deals. And she said, why don't you teach other people how to do this? There's a whole bunch of people in your shoes that got hit in 08. Yeah. So that's how the thing just morphed into the kids coming in, and we built a scalable business.
That's really interesting, because like you, I got destroyed in 08. I mean, down to $35 destroyed.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oof, man, I'm still, feeling the pain of that hit.
Yeah.
So I love this stuff. Okay, so I took us off track. Matt, put us back on track.
Chris, free book. What's the best way for people to connect with you, reach out?
Yeah, just email support@smartrealestatecoach.com. Lauren will take care of you. We'll pay for shipping. It's not one of those, hey, we'll give you a free book. We'll charge you $15 in shipping.
Right.
So it'll come to you absolutely for free.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So there's a lot more we could say about that. The webinar as well, you mentioned, is at smartrealestatecoach.com. So that's the best way to kind of get into your world and start really learning more about this, which is awesome. So you got the free book and you got the webinar. Man, Chris, that was fantastic. I really appreciate it. This has been tons and tons of fun. We'll just finish out with this. Greg, what's the best way to connect with you?
Best thing to do, guys, is go to bookmcdaniel.com. Go there. Let's talk about EXP. We like Chris. We want to see you guys thrive, not just survive. We want to see you have a better year than next year than you did this year. EXP is transparent, and like Chris, he has 3 different opportunities for making income. So go to there. Stop being in the rat race. Start getting in the human race, and let's make this thing change together. Matt and I's job is to put more deals in your pocket and connect you with amazing people like Chris. So go to bookmcdaniel.com. Let's talk about EXP and joining our team. Matt, put a color on this amazingly informative show.
Let's go with purple.
The color of kings. I see why we are at Chris's feet. I see why you picked purple.
Sure, why
not? Chris, thank you, man. It's
really always great chatting with you guys. Always fun.
Always. Guys, we love you. We need you. We cannot do this without you. If you guys would please go and share this with a friend. Like Matt said, give us a review on our show on iTunes or anywhere else. That would mean the world to us. We're going to keep coming back with more amazing guests and just more amazing shows with Matt and I just bantering and beating each other up like we always do, just so you guys can have a laugh during the day. Anyways, guys, we love you. We'll see you soon. Until then, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.